Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to read Chapter 4 of Flat Stanley and the Magic Lamp. Chapter 4 is called The Brothers Fly, and it starts on page 68. So go ahead and get your book ready and we can get started. Chapter 4, The Brothers Fly. "I'm not complaining," said Arthur, complaining, "but it's not fair. Some people have liaphants or get famous. I want to be president, or as strong as mighty man, but all I got was 1 minute with an ascot basket we can't even use anymore." It was after dinner, and the brothers were in their bedroom with Prince Horaz all in pajamas. "It's not my fault, Arthur." The genie looked hurt. "I just follow orders. Rub, I appear. Wish, I grant. That's it." Stanley felt sorry for his brother. "I don't think you should be president, Arthur," he said, "but I'll wish for you to be the strongest man in the world. I wish it, Prince Horaz." "Oh, good," said Arthur. He waited, but nothing happened. Darn, it didn't work. Disappointed, he punched his left hand with his right fist. "Ow!" Jumping up and down, Arthur flapped his hand to relieve the pain. "When you're the strongest man in the world," said Prince Horaz, "you have to be careful what you hit." "But I still feel like me," Arthur said, testing himself. He took hold of the big desk with one hand and lifted it easily above his head. Stanley's mouth flew open, and so did the desk drawers. Pencils, marbles, and paper clips rained down onto the floor. "Oops," said Arthur. "This is ridiculous," said Prince Horaz, helping him tidy up. "The strongest man in the world in a bedroom picking up desks? Out having adventures, that's where you should be." "We can't now," Arthur said. "It's almost bedtime." Stanley had an idea. "There'd be time if we could fly. Can't we all fly somewhere?" "I've always been able to," said the genie. "For you two, it'll take wishing." "I wish," shouted Stanley. Flying Arthur and me both. For a moment, the brothers held their breath, expecting to be swept up into the air. Then Arthur tried small flapping movements with his elbows. "Oh, Collybots," said the genie, "not like that. Just think of flying and where you want to go." It worked. Stanley and Arthur found themselves suddenly a few feet off the floor, face down and quite comfortable, and however they wished to go, up or down, forward or back, was how they went. It was like swimming in soft, invisible water, but without the effort of swimming. Prince Horaz gave advice as the brothers glided happily about the room. "Point your toes. Heads up. Good, very good. Yes, I think you're ready now." He opened a window and leaned out. This breeze may be coolish higher up. We'd better wear something extra." Stanley and Arthur put on bathrobes and gloves, and the genie chose a red parka and a dragon-faced ski mask. Then he said, "Away we go," and the brothers floated through the window after him, out into the night. Up, up, up they went, leveling off now and then to practice speeding up, but mostly rising steadily higher. Stanley and Arthur flew side by side, gaining confidence from each other, and the genie kept an eye on them from behind. It was a beautiful night. The sky above them was full of stars. Below them, the lights of the city twinkled as brightly as the stars. The brothers' white bathrobes and the genie's red parka shone in the moonlight. They flew above the big park, where an orchestra was giving a concert. Music floated up to them, the clear, sweet tones of flutes and violins and trumpets, the deep, strong notes of cymbals and drums. "Oh, I'm enjoying this," Prince Horaz called through his dragon mask. "So different from inside that lamp." The three flyers joined hands and circled the blaze of light from where the orchestra sat. It was like ice skating to music at a rink, but much more fun. In the distance, the wing lights of a big airplane blinked across the sky, Let's chase it, Stanley shouted. Prince Horaz laughed. Go on, I'll catch up. Whoosh, whoosh. Holding their arms by their sides, Stanley and Arthur flashed like rockets across the sky, their bathrobes flapping like the sails of a boat. The big airplane was fast, but the brothers were faster. Catching up, they flew around and around it, looking through the windows at the passengers reading and eating from tiny trays. Arthur saw a little girl with a comic book. Zooming close to her window, he stretched his neck, trying to read over her shoulder. The little girl looked up and saw him. Being mean, she held the comic book down where he couldn't see it and stuck out her tongue. Arthur stuck his tongue out at her, and the little girl scowled and pulled a curtain across her window. On the other side of the plane, Stanley saw a very tired-looking young couple with a crying baby across their laps, keeping them awake. Flying up next to the window so that the baby could see him, he made a funny face. Puffing his lips and wrinkling his nose, the baby smiled, and Stanley put his thumbs in his ears and wiggled his other fingers. The baby smiled again and went to sleep. Stanley flew back around the plane past the cockpit to join Arthur on the other side. There were 2 pilots in the cockpit, and one saw Stanley fly by. Turning his head, he now saw both brothers hovering above a wingtip waiting for Prince Horaz to catch up. Guess what I see out there, Bert, he said. The stars in the sky, Tom, and below us the mighty ocean, replied the other pilot. No, said Tom, 2 kids in bathrobes. Ha ha, what a joker, said Bert, but he turned to look. Only Prince Horaz could be seen now above the wing, his parka flapping as he looked around for Stanley and Arthur, who were hiding from him behind the plane. So what do you see, Bert? Asked Tom, keeping his own eyes straight ahead. 2 kids in bathrobes, right? Wrong, said Bert quietly. I see a guy in ski clothes with a dragon face. The pilots stared at each other, then out at the wing again. But the genie had flown to join the brothers behind the plane. Nobody there, said Tom. Let's never mention this to anyone, Bert. Okay, good idea, said Bert. Definitely. They flew on and had nothing more to say. A giant ocean liner, ablaze with lights, made its way across the sea below. Come on, Arthur shouted, whizzing away with Stanley behind him. Again, Prince Horaz laughing and let them go. Again, Prince Horaz laughed and let them go. The beauty of the great ship made the brothers marvel as they drew near. It was like an enormous birthday cake, each deck a layer sparkling with the brightness of 1,000 candles. Look, Stanley, Arthur cried. They're having a party on the main deck. They flew closer to enjoy the fun and saw that it was not a party, but a robbery. The main deck was crowded because robbers had lined up all the passengers and were taking their money and jewelry. The helicopter, in which the robbers had arrived, was parked close by, below the captain's bridge. The captain and his fellow officers had struggled, but they were chained up now on the bridge. We've got to do something, Stanley, Arthur said. Zooming down to the bridge, he shouted over the railing at the robbers below. Stop, you crooks! Give back all that money and jewelry and stuff. Using his great strength, Arthur tore away the ropes and chains that bound the ship's officers. It was as if he was just tearing paper. Amazed, the robbers stumbled backward, dropping money and jewelry all over the deck. Oh, Lordy, one robber yelled. Who are you? Remembering his favorite comic book hero, Arthur could not resist showing off. He flew 10 feet up in the air and stayed there, looking fierce. I am Mighty Arthur, he shouted in a deep voice. Mighty Arthur, enemy of crime. Exclamations rose from the robbers and passengers and ship officers. So strong, and a flyer, too. Who expected mighty Arthur? Are we ever lucky? This ought to be on TV. Now Stanley swooped down from the sky with his bathrobe belt untied, so that his robe flared behind him like a cape. I'm mighty Stanley, he called, defender of the innocent. I do that too, Arthur cried, wishing he had made his robe a cape. We both do good things, but I'm the really strong one. He saw suddenly that several robbers were trying to escape in the helicopter. It was already rising, but Arthur flashed through the air until he was directly above it, and with one hand pushed it back down onto the deck. When the frightened robbers jumped out, the ship's officers grabbed them and tied them up. Now the passengers were even more amazed. Did you see that? They said. And mighty Arthur and mighty Stanley both on the same day. And this is better than TV. The brothers flew up to join Prince Horaz, who had been circling over the ship. What a pair of show-offs, said the genie, even worse than I used to be. As they set out for home, the cheers of the grateful passengers and crew floated up behind them. Hooray for our rescuers, they heard, and especially mighty Arthur, and a moment later, mighty Stanley too, of course. Soon the big ship was no more than an outline of tiny lights in the black sea below, and the last cheer was only a whisper above the rushing of the wind. 3 cheers for the enemy of crime and the defender of the innocent. The brothers felt very proud, but it had been a tiring adventure, and they were not sorry when the city came into sight. And that's the end of chapter 4. I hope you were able to follow along with that chapter with me. Go ahead on to our website and see what's posted for today. Thanks for checking in and reading, and I hope to talk to you online soon.